it seems like Mr. Borelli undermines Dr. Destiny to a significant degree, right? Like there's a lot of people who would listen to you and who I would want to listen to you who don't, because you say, I think, stuff that even you would acknowledge is like insane and sociopathic and less than moral.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Would I agree with the statement that there are some people that would listen to me if I didn't say some things? Yeah, some people would otherwise listen to me, but don't because of rhetoric I engage in. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah.
That's a very different framing of how I framed it. I'm specifically pointing out the whole meme of the Mr. Borelli is it's insane. Like some of the crazy shit. Like the firefighter. Whatever. It's like, okay. First off, what would I say? I've talked to Vosh. I talked to Andrew Wilson. I'm sure I'll have the misfortune of talking to Nick Fuentes at some point. I'm less interested in policing rhetoric as trying to genuinely understand when you're on the Bridges podcast and you say to JJ McCullough or Mr. Beat, the problem is the temperature is turned up too much. Conservatives and progressives have a caricature of one another. And there's a very large middle ground of reasonable people who could, come together on solve important issues. That's almost verbatim what you say. And then it's like, okay, then you say the shit about the firefighter. I don't know which Destiny form I'm talking to often or watching. It's like, is your goal to bridge the gap? Do you believe that conservatives are caricatured and that's a problem? Or do you think that if they go to a Trump rally, they deserve what they get?
Deserve no sympathy.
Well, but surely you understand from my perception, how it's hard to square those two.
Yeah, I understand. So I think this is the challenge in doing what I do, where I'm trying to be relatively politically, ideologically independent in how I operate, meaning I'm not just trying to talk to only liberals or only progressives or only people that agree with me. I'm trying to talk to people that disagree with me. There's a special challenge there in weighing how combative do I want to be versus how not accepting, not charitable, how oh fuck, there's a word I'm looking for. It's not empathetic. Do I want to be combative or do I want to be a bit more
charitable?
People are saying tolerant. Fuck. Maybe agreeable. There's a strength to both approaches, and there's a big negative to both approaches, and I have to constantly reinterpret and reweigh these things as like time passes to see if I am effecting some kind of outcome that I think is good. And there are big moments sometimes where I think I don't like the direction I've headed and I need a violent course correction because I haven't been calibrating correctly, leading up to something. Yeah, that's, I would say. I would say that like an analogy for this might be, have you ever heard of the idea of like parents that let their teenage children drink in the basement? The idea that like, well, I don't really want my kid to drink, but if he's going to drink, like, fuck it, do it in my house. You're not up to it, right?
I was friends with people whose parents were like that, much to my benefit.
Yeah. On its face, like we can understand that parent is having a Mr. Borelli versus Dr. Destiny moment where I don't want my children to drink or be up to no good, but like I'm going to condone underage drinking because I think that the benefit of doing it in this way outweighs not doing it. But we can imagine so many things along that spectrum that would be insane, right? That somebody might say like, oh yeah, well, if my kids are going to drink, I'd rather at least have them fucking drink here. And you're like, oh, okay, fine. And then you walk downstairs and you see that like the parents have like a fully staffed fucking bar with like a bartender.
Cocaine and hookers and shit.
Yeah, maybe they bring in some cocaine. And you're like, okay, wait a second. Hold on. This is way too much, right? And then you can imagine a world where yeah, somebody gets, intoxicated too much for the first time, they throw up, but it was like in the parents' basement and they're like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this shit. Like I told you guys, like you fucking like, this is whatever, right? Where they're it's like more managed or whatever, right? We can see all of that on the spectrum. And yeah, the way that I engage with people is somewhere on that spectrum. Where in a perfect world, when I'm talking to somebody like a Jordan Peterson, what I really want to do is on every single statement you make, this is so fucking stupid. And we're going to break down exactly why it's stupid. And you need to justify every single premise here before we get to your conclusion, because all of them are wrong, right? But if I'm that combative, right? If I'm the parent that says, if I even see you take a sip of alcohol around me, you're out of here. Okay. I don't care if you got to be a ward of the state or what, get the fuck out of my house, right? That hardcore approach, might work in certain environments, but for the vast majority of environments, it turns everybody off, right? You're like, okay, well, Jesus. Okay, well, that's Destiny. He's the crazy, insane debate lord. But then on the other end of the spectrum, where I'm like, oh, okay, 20% excess deaths, all because of the vaccine. Okay, I mean, that seems pretty high, but okay, well, let's go to the next thing, right? Is like the parents that are like, okay, I guess if you want to do, cocaine and maybe some downer, maybe you want to do some heroin. Yeah.
I get the analogy.
So it's trying to balance that out. And one of the things that I've noticed, and it happened, I saw it a lot after the Trump, I don't want to say assassination attempt because no one was charged with assassination, so it couldn't have been that. But in the firefighter shooter event, okay, when that happened, and then I started to see all of the conservatives become so indignant online about how inflammatory the rhetoric was, I retroactively perceive all of my participation in this space and like my conversation with these figures as me like playing a role in that, where I don't like the idea that that Peterson, that Shapiro, that Owens can say like, oh, well, I debated Destiny, blah. No, you didn't. We didn't have a fucking debate. Okay, I showed up in a schoolgirl skirt and we played hopscotch for 2 hours, and I hate that I'm like, I shouldn't have been a part of normalizing this so much. And now we're going to go a little bit more to the other end because this shouldn't be normalized and we're going to be somewhat unhinged here. Yeah, I'll let you go in. I can talk about it.
Well, I mean, I get that analogy. Mm-hmm. There's a part, I mean, first off, I'm very empathetic to most people on everything in many ways.
Okay. What a saint.
Well, like, I know. Saint must die before the end. Like when you said, Piers Morgan said, do you condemn the shooter? And you're like, in front of these people? No. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's wild. I'm like, Dave Rubin's on the screen. Hammer Time Dave Rubin. And then he's like rolling his, it's like, however degenerate and immoral you are, Dave Rubin is at least as degenerate and immoral if he's going to make jokes like that.
Yeah.
And so the whole like, well, not in front of these people, it's like, and it's ironic because Piers Morgan, the meme around him is like, do you condemn Hamas? It's like, well, the truth is not only do I condemn Hamas, I think that the just thing would be every Hamas terrorist that killed civilians on October 7th should be thrown in a pit and lit on fire. But if an Israeli subtler is saying, do you condemn Hamas? I'm far less inclined to say, no. And it's
there's going to be some heavy qualifications there. Abso-fucking-lutely, yeah. If I'm in front of settlers and they're giving me that line, well, don't you condemn Hamas? And yeah, well, okay, sure, but we're going to talk about the settlements and everything too, because I need to hear something from you. Absolutely.
So this is my point is, for better or worse, I'm empathetic to that approach, and I guess I don't know. I'm not. It seems to me, I'll just show my cards and be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
Like, it seems so obvious that because you talk about like correction, I need to go too far. The analogy you gave is like, well, you can have parents that let their kids drink. Like, Jesus Christ, bringing the cocaine and the hookers in. That's insane. It's like, of course, that's self-evidently insane. I would say it's self-evidently insane to mock the firefighter who died. And it's like, but then it's just me saying this and you saying that, and I guess I don't really know what the purpose of that is other than to point that out. Because it just seems to me like there has to be a part of you that knows that that's not optimal. Even for what you said about having to course correct and all that. Like, surely you can overcorrect. Like, would you agree that that was an overcorrection?
It's definitely stronger than anything that I would think would exist, like, ideally. That's one way to say it. That is one way to say it. Have you seen the video of like the old, I think this is in black and white. Maybe it was in the 70s or whatever. The woman that goes around pinching guys' asses on camera and then asks them like, how did that feel? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, fuck. Okay, well, take my word that I'm not stating this video with ill intent or misrepresenting it.
It doesn't sound like something someone could make up on the spot. I won't lie.
Yeah. It was an old video in 1971. Sent Nikki Wood to go and pinch. So what she did was she walked around and she was pinching people. Fuck. Wait. Hold on. Give me one. Oh wait, never mind. So she walked around and she was pinching men's bottoms. Okay. Here, you can actually, you know what? Let me send this to you just real quick. You can watch like 10 seconds of this and immediately understand what's going on.
Okay. Are you sending me this on Discord or?
Yeah. Where else would I send it to? Where else do we communicate on?
That's fair. You were full screen.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, you get it, right?
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we would say here, like pretty obviously the woman is committing sexual assault, right? She is. Right? Walk around, you pinch somebody in the ass, right? Just...
This goes into the whole definitions thing. It's like we could label it that, but then that seems to.
Or we could say sexual harassment if you want, or whatever. Some sort of like sexual harassment. It's sexual in nature, it's harassment. We don't have to call it assault. But like obviously it's not good. We should never have people doing this ever, right? She's proving a point, I think. I think it's a good point. I think it's good to be aware of this. I think it's good to have a situation like this where you're seeing it from the other end, where somebody's doing something to you and you're like, okay, I actually really don't like this and I don't like seeing it. And this doesn't make me feel good. One thing that's hard for people, I think, to understand sometimes, hard to intellectualize or articulate, because I think everybody understands it intuitively, is negative and disgusting and immoral rhetoric is actually really powerful. It's a really strong motivator. When you dehumanize somebody and you do stuff like this, you're not doing this because you want to be the bad guy or evil. You do it because when you dehumanize people, you can attack them so much more. You can be so much more brutal. You get everybody on your side riled up. You see them as the enemy, the Amalek, right? You can go so much harder on somebody. And what I got super disgusted with on the during the shooting when the firefighter died was all of a sudden there were these huge calls to compassion from the conservative side who was, for all intents and purposes, like a conservative loony. This guy tweeted out some unhinged crazy shit. This guy was sitting at a fucking Trump rally, not sitting, standing, recording it. Like, this is one of Trump's ardent fans. That when we're supposed to have so much compassion for this guy, and liberals are always supposed to be tripping over themselves, being compassionate, being apologetic, which is a detriment to our side. It makes us look bad. Like, okay, yeah, fuck, we fucked up. Our rhetoric went too far. Like, it was too unhinged. We're sorry. We shouldn't have called you guys Nazis. Like, yeah, we're sorry. And the conservatives are getting to collect all this value and virtue. Like, yeah, you guys did fuck up. You should feel bad for this. Fuck you that this happened, right? And then immediately the next day, it's like, oh, they're commies, they're, the trans groomers, the conservatives get to benefit from all this dehumanizing rhetoric. It's like, no, hold on. Fuck you. Okay. If we're going to make it a gunfight, then at some point I'm going to bring a gun. And I'm not going to keep showing up with a knife because this is bullshit. You guys can't collect this much value off of your dehumanization and expect us to never, ever, ever do it. It doesn't make sense. We're just destroying ourselves doing this the entire time. Like, we'll start to engage in similar behavior. So this is my thought process on when the Trump shooting happens, right? That whatever statements that I made about the firefighter dude that got shot up, I don't think they approached the level of disgustingness that of any of the people that argued against me about what they said about Paul Pelosi. Now, Paul didn't die, I guess, so maybe you can argue that, well, mine are worse because the dude died. But there were a lot of jokes made about that. So yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like,
yeah, well, that's my point about why I don't hold it against you that you didn't condemn it in front of them, because I think Dave Rubin is pathetic, and I'll leave it at that for that reason. Something about, it's like, and the videos of Paul Pelosi lying on the ground and like when he was like snorting or whatever because he couldn't breathe because he got hit in the brain.
Okay.
Like, oh, you're joking about that?
Okay, I haven't even seen those.
You didn't see that?
Nope. Holy shit. Okay, I probably would have been even more unhinged then.
Well, I believe that's. I have to. Well, if you haven't seen it now, I'm suddenly worried that those are not the accurate videos.
Well, no, I only read like articles and stuff about it. That's why I didn't go looking for any.
I believe the video, like when the 911 call, isn't it the 911 call? He shows up at the house, he like opens the door and he's kind of like talking kind of calmly because he's trying to keep the guy calm.
Yeah, because the guy's still there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Paul Pelosi's on the ground like snorting because he got hit in the head and it's like fucking up his ability to breathe. And Dave Rubin says hammer time. So it's like, spare me, Dave Rubin and crew. I understand that.
Yeah.